Hello.
Bro, it's pretty getting cold in Kiev now, right?
Yeah, we're standing in the snow.
Right, so like Johnny came from United States of America, from sunny California,
Yes.
and you found your new place in Kiev, in
Yeah.
Ukraine.
Actually, I came from Sri Lanka, which is even sunnier. And before that, I was living in Thailand for 10 years because California was too cold for me.
Okay.
So here I am.
Like, how did you end up? Like, can you tell a little bit of the backstory? Where do you originate from? What's your background? Just want to tell you
Yeah.
that now you've probably seen Johnny somewhere online. He's running a YouTube channel, Johnny FD, which has over 250,000 subscribers. So subscribe straight away, and now we're gonna develop this topic. So, yeah, what brought you here, and how did it start?
So I had a normal life in California, good job, run a university, but I was very unhappy. I was very depressed, and I got into like self-help things, and that led me somehow into all these weird things that it's a part of my California life that I wanted to escape. In 2008, I decided, you know what, life isn't for me. I want to find myself. I want to figure out who I am. And I want to find out what actually makes me happy. Because going to bars and trying to meet girls at bars and having like this type of lifestyle wasn't really fulfilling. So I moved to Thailand to do scuba diving. I did this and Muay Thai for maybe 5 years. From there, I started online business. Then I decided, you know what? I'm a little bit tired of like this business life. I want to do something else. So I moved to Sri Lanka for 1 year to learn how to surf. And I decided, you know what, I was very fortunate where I had enough passive income coming in where I can just kind of do what I want, you know, to at least to a level. Not
So basically,
not
you
crazy.
you lived the digital nomad dream. It's possible to tell. So,
Yeah.
and just for your note, guys, Johnny is one of the first, like one of the dinosaurs of a digital
Yeah.
nomad community. Probably long before the term became widely used in its present form,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Actually,
So-
for a few years, I was even blogging about living in Thailand while working online.
Okay.
But we didn't use the term digital nomad because we had heard it like once or twice.
It started like as a mainstream, probably 2015, 16.
Yeah,
Right?
but in 2013 I was already full time, and even making like events in Chiang Mai. I was the kind of maybe not the first, but like one of the first organizers of weekly events, and definitely the first one to do a big conference there called the Nomad Summit. I really loved this lifestyle for about 7 years. It was a lot of work, especially always answering questions from people who are getting started.
Looking for the reliable Wi-Fi signal in the
Yeah.
middle of the trips. We know all this
Yeah.
dark side of digital nomadism, yeah?
You know, so it was just enough for me. Like I was very fortunate that I saved probably 70 or 80% of everything I earned while working online, and then I actually sold the business. So then I had enough to buy some property.
Which business, may I ask?
So I had 2 stores where I was basically, we call it drop shipping, but now people have hijacked this term to mean like selling cheap shit from AliExpress. But I was an authorized dealer for some big brands in the US, some actually like good products. And I would just do it like manufacture direct, if that makes sense. That's probably a better term than drop shipping, because now people don't really understand what is actually drop shipping. But I would be in Thailand or in Sri Lanka. I would take orders from my online store, and then I would email my suppliers in Oregon or in San Diego, and I would say, hey, can you ship this item in this configuration with these accessories to this person? And I did this for 5 years. I made a lot of money from it. Probably made for sure $1 million in revenue, not in profit, but in revenue. And then when I sold the business, I was able to get like 3 years of profit.
Some royalty
Upfront.
stuff
Yeah.
and so on. Okay.
So like I was pretty set, and that's why I decided, you know what, let's go to Sri Lanka, let's surf, let's just have this beach life. But after a year of doing that, I was like, I miss the city, I miss infrastructure, I miss like taking the metro, I miss like normal life. So I came here.
And you came here into the cold of Ukraine. By the way, guys, now our country is going through a terrible war.
Yes.
We're gonna talk about this topic as well. So, like, out of 193 countries, which are United Nations members all around the world, you being originally from one of the most desired destinations to live, came to the country, which is Ukraine, and I mean, statistically, Ukraine is losing the biggest amount of population out of all
Yes.
other countries in the world, right? For those who know, for me personally, Ukraine is an amazing place. I visited over 100 countries around, but this is still my home and I enjoyed so much here, yeah? But for the general cliche, for the general view of the world, this is like might be like not the smartest move to do.
Yeah.
So tell.
I knew it was a little bit of a gamble to
Yeah.
move here,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it was like getting into a startup on the way up, where you
Yeah.
see potential. I started coming to the 2016, and to be honest, in 2016, it was not yet ready. There wasn't so many coffee shops. There was zero English spoken.
No size skyscrapers like
Yeah,
this.
it was just like I was like, okay, this is you know, Eastern European like adventure, right?
Yeah.
But then when I came back every year, mostly because my Schengen visa would be up. As Americans, or most people, we only get 90 days in the EU, the Schengen zone. And I said, okay, do I want to leave or stick around Europe? I was like, okay, let's spend 1 month or 2 months in Ukraine because it's a different visa. And every year I would come, like some of my wishes would come true. They would have, all of a sudden, they would have better coffee shops or, you know, different restaurants. And it was just like every year got better. And not just by a little bit, like significant quantum leaps every year. And by 2019, I was like, wow, if they continue at this pace, Kyiv is going to be much better than San Francisco or London or any of these kind of big cities, but for way cheaper. So let me get in now before the prices skyrocket. So that's why I decided to buy property here. That's why I decided to move here.
And the timing like was pretty interesting, right?
Uh-huh.
Because you bought the property in 2021,
Yeah.
and you bought not only in Kiev, but you also bought in Kharkiv.
Yeah.
And then like half year after,
Uh-huh.
this terrible Russian invasion started.
Yeah. So it was a little bit less than a year after.
So do you remember like, because you know the entire world was like watching with horror like what's happening in Ukraine. I personally myself also came from my trips to participate in our resistance, but this was the time when like 8 million people fled the country,
Yeah.
right? So do you remember the first days of that? Because
Yeah.
you were in Kiev, right?
I was here. I was here on February 24th when the war started, but it didn't really hit me yet, to be honest. I walked to Maidan. Me and my friend Bald was the only two civilians there, definitely the only two foreigners there. Everybody else was either military or war reporter, and they had on like ballistic helmets and
vests.
everything. And I had my iPhone as my YouTube camera, and I thought, you know what? I'm not going to be able to get any good footage unless I'm within like firing range. Anyway, so I can't even show what's happening. Then that's what the war correspondents are for. They have like the special gear. I don't speak the language good enough to even be able to say, "Don't shoot me." I'm like, I'm.
Не стреляйте,
You know.
не стреляйте.
Yeah, near Ruski, you know, like, and, like so.
Like they would tell you like, don't worry, we see that you are not a Russian.
Yeah, but like I was just like I realized I was like I'm gonna be more of a hindrance than it is a help. I have no military experience, and then actually all they said like please if you're American like get out of here because it's gonna be a lot of trouble for the American embassy to come get you. So I said you know what, I'm gonna leave. I sat for 1 or 2 months in the EU in the safety of the EU, and I was so miserable. I was checking like the news every day, what's happening, and I decided, you know what? And I think it was in April, 2 months after the war started. I said I have to go back and I have to do something.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what I can do, but I was like, I gotta go back and I gotta at least like show what's happening. I gotta try to help with volunteer work or at least try to make a difference. you
I
know?
understand you very well because in 2014 when the Euromaidan revolution happened, guys, you remember, yeah, that 2014 we had the revolution, which actually was the pretext of the current full-scale invasion.
Yeah.
I was living my digital nomad dream life in Mexico.
Yeah.
You know, in hammocks, beach, volleyball every day, working from the laptop, and these manifestations and then like the shootings on the streets of Kyiv actually started, and I was witnessing this online, seeing my friends participating there, and you know I really felt so bad while you feel helpless being on a distance from the place where you're attached to. This time, when I was knew that the full-scale invasion is inevitable, I like made a clear decision before this started that I'm going to participate. And once it happened, it was like a no-brainer for me. You know, I just came back and now travel around Ukraine, do the reports. We do some volunteering stuff as well. By the way, Johnny helped a lot for my initiatives and for the entire digital nomad community. We bought a van for the orphanage, and on a daily basis, you support so many families as well, right? So. Please take a look on his channel and have in-depth information what's actually happening in Ukraine. So you came back,
Yeah. So I came back, and I mean, I'm very fortunate that I can leave if I want to, because even though I'm a resident, because I have a U.S. passport, I can leave anytime. But I know that if I leave, I'll be miserable again. I'll be just checking the news to see what's happening. I'll feel very helpless. While here, you know, even if I can't do that much, at least I can show what other people are doing. I can show what the military needs. I can show what orphanages or now I'm working with a lot of animal rescues and sanctuaries, and I actually just not adopted but fostered 2 cats myself. And I'm now at least like I realize my biggest strength that I can contribute is with my big audience to show what good initiatives are happening and giving them an audience, helping them get funding, helping them get what they need.
And that's amazing because this is a huge leverage, right? You can spread the voice, spread the message, and it's also like the media is so important because, guys, the war is not only in the battlefield, it's happening in all different parallel ways of life. Like this is the media, it's propaganda, it's animal rescue, children help, voluntary assistance, journalism, tanks, obviously, you know, all type of different things really matter because the conflict is so massive, it's so huge, and if you feel like you want to participate in this cause, I think you can reach out to me, to Johnny maybe.
Don't worry, me, I get so many messages, but leave a comment on one of my videos.
Leave the comment and think how you can use your superpower in order to be useful in this case.
But I will say one thing, and actually it's a question for you. When people message me asking me like, how can I come to Ukraine to volunteer, or is it safe to go to Ukraine to volunteer? I don't answer them because I know that any person who will be of any actual help here are not the people who ask like these basic questions. They really need to have an initiative. So that's why I just don't answer them, and either they fizzle out, but they probably would have been more of a hindrance anyways. You know,
and they figure out eventually,
or they'll figure it out by themselves. You know.
So if you're independent enough, I also invite you to subscribe to my Instagram. Link will be below next to this video, and there I report from different communities along the front line, and my rule is to visit at least one volunteer organization in that community, you know. So I feature them, I explain what they do, and I show visually as well. So just scroll through this, get to know a little bit about these initiatives, and reach out to them directly, because definitely your help is more needed in the east of Ukraine than here in Kiev. What about safety, by the way? Like, what can you tell about this?
It's definitely, I mean, if you look around, like, we're relatively safe, or we wouldn't be standing in the middle of the street. You know, some restaurants are open, cafes are open.
iPhone is just standing over there, 2 meters from us, no problem.
So in a sense, it's safe, even safer than some big cities in the world. But at any time there could be a missile, and it can kill us. But or it can damage our property or damage where we're living while we're sleeping. So there is a risk. But at this point, because the artillery battles are focused on the front line in the east, which is very far from us, I'm not worried about losing my life, because I know it's less than 1% chance.
It's like probably like getting into the traffic accident is the biggest risk, not only in Ukraine but generally all around the world.
Yeah, but actually, to be honest, it is more risky here, because first you have the snow in the winter, but also sometimes there's no lights, there's no traffic lights, so there's no street lights.
People are stressed as well.
So there is more danger here for sure. But at the same time, driving in Bali on a scooter while you're drunk like while with no gear on is also very dangerous.
You know, also like people might think that if the country is at war, it's like chaos, is ruthless. You know, there is no power of law and so on. And people expect in such crisis, conflict zones to be a victim of the street violence. But this is like not the case in Ukraine. First of all, even before the war, Ukrainian cities were much safer than even Western European cities. I'm not talking about US or Latin America. But also even now, since there is a martial law, since there is large presence of police and army around, it's even safer. So the petty crime really went down during the war times.
Yeah, absolutely. Because unlike in the US or in some European countries, if you commit crimes, especially against another civilian, you are punished.
Yeah.
Versus in the US, like maybe nothing happens and then they just do it again. But here, like, if the police don't punish you, somebody will punish you.
Well, yeah, and you might hear like additional sound of something like this. Just the power generator started nearby because looks like there's a power cut in the city, and businesses have to carry on with their like this isolated options to generate power.
Yeah. So that's honestly another reason why it's better to just send donations than to physically come here, because for every additional person here, maybe we are using more electricity. So I'm aware of this. So I'm always asking myself, am I consuming more or am I doing more? And if that ever switches, then I'll leave.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. But in case, guys, you would like to come and you could, you know, be more effective while your physical presence over here, I must say it's pretty simple to enter Ukraine. Like the disadvantage that the airports are not operating at the moment, but the way to get overland from any European Union country is pretty straightforward. Every checkpoint is open absolutely normally. Most of the Western nationalities enter here without any visa and so on for 90 days. And from Poland you can get even a scheduled trains with the buses and trains and public transportation. So that's another option. If you'll be coming to Ukraine and you happen to be in Lviv, I'm in the western of the city, please write me a note. How is your normal life looks like here now during the war?
I'm traveling a lot within Ukraine. So I just came back from Kharkiv, I just came back from Kamyanets-Podilsky. So when I'm here, I just want to get back to my normal schedule. I want to catch up on my editing. I want to go to the gym. I want to practice Ukrainian language. I'm learning. But for now, it's like I'm so busy even trying to get these 3 things done that there's nothing out, no time for anything else.
Yeah, like I just spent 1 week in Kiev and we just had time during the evenings, right? Otherwise, everybody was busy with their own life and other obligations. Thanks for catching up. It was a pleasure to hang out with you and thank you for everything what you're doing in Ukraine. I think this is a very good example how the entire world stays behind a very good, legitimate cause, and we understand that the truth is on our side, guys.
Yeah, 100%. And you know, thank you guys for your support, because honestly, if it wasn't for the Western support, there would be no tanks, there would be no air defense, there would be no aid, and Ukraine would have a very, very hard time. So even without you physically being here in the cold and in the danger, you are helping by just supporting, by commenting, by sharing, by standing with Ukraine, and that's what I'm trying to say. I'm not. You don't physically need to be here. Like unless you really have some unique skill, like if you want to help rebuild houses and you have experience, please come. But for most people, if you just want to come for 1 week, like there's no reason to come. Just if you want, go to Lviv. Spend some money for the economy, but there's no reason to come to Kyiv right now.
Okay, fair enough. On behalf of all Ukrainians, I really appreciate everything what's happening, and I see how Ukraine is eventually adopted into the Western world. This motivates Ukrainians to face all the challenges we are going through now, but I'm sure once the victory arrives, we're gonna live in a much better place. Thank you guys, all the best, and see you.
Slava Ukraine.
Bye-bye.